Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another GSS Talent Hub Fireside Chat session. We are coming to you live on the GSS Talent Hub, and we're also streaming on our Facebook and YouTube channels. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this session as we continue to discuss the topic, A World of Opportunities in the GSS. This time with specific focus on and the subtopic, exploring the KPO segment of the GSS. Now, in our previous sessions, we looked at the BPO segment, common misconceptions about the industry, and we heard directly from our employees, sharing their personal journeys and stories of growth. And we explored some of the various fields and roles within the sector beyond what is most popularly known by many, the customer service roles. So we looked at roles in HR, accounting and auditing, IT and technology, leadership and training, and more. And today we are going to explore one of the newer segments, the KPO segment. Now, KPO stands for Knowledge Process Outsourcing, and KPO jobs include core information related business activities, which are important or form an integral part of a company's value chain. So, when we look at the KPO segment, we are talking about career paths such as financial management and accounting, auditing, market research, data analytics, proposal and technical writing, legal services, medical and healthcare services, and more. It involves outsourcing work to individuals that typically have advanced degrees and expertise in a specialized area. Although KPO is a subset of BPO, KPO involves far more specialized, analytical, and knowledge based work. So, if you want to learn some more about these fields within the sector, I have two very special guests joining me today to shed some light. So, our first guest, Shafe Bloomfield, is an assistant manager for the growth and strategy work stream at KPMG GES, with oversight of 8 process areas, including proposal management, brand governance, and marketing operations. With 8 years' experience in the global services sector within both the BPO and KPO subsectors, she prides herself as a communication extraordinaire with a passion for people, maintaining positive customer experiences and a firm belief in the mantra that great leaders and innovators never stop learning. This has seen her obtaining a bachelor's degree in integrated marketing communications and the pursuit of other certifications in the areas of human resource management, compliance, the global services sector's certificate in supervisory management through the apprenticeship program, and recently, the Lean Six Sigma's certification in process improvement. Welcome, Shafe.
Thank you for having me, Tani.
Thank you for being here. Now, our second guest is Jahal Smith, a data analyst at Blue Dot Insights, and considers himself a problem solver. A recent graduate of the University of the West Indies Mona campus, Jahal studied computer science and economics with the aim of breaking into the data science field. He is a 2019-2020 UE Open Scholar and a 2023-24 Chevening Scholarship recipient. He has experience in analytics for e-commerce, insurance, and research with particular focus on data visualization and dashboard design. Jahal has worked on a myriad of projects for various clients in his time at Blue Dot, and he aims to learn even more as he continues his studies. Welcome, Jahal. So, thank you both for joining me for our fireside chat here on the GSS Talent Hub. So, let's get right into the discussion. So, Shafe and Jahal, what has your experience in the industry been like? Have you experienced growth? I want you to just briefly share your journey thus far. And I am going to start with Shafe.
All right, thank you for that question. So, I often say that my journey has been characterized by growth and development. So, I started back in 2015 at a contact center, was working as a customer service agent initially, phone customer service agent. I later transitioned to focusing on email. Then I went on to a more specialized service. Thereafter, I transitioned to KPMG as a senior officer in the brand governance process area. That's one of the process areas that we'll speak about today. And after which I was promoted to team lead for that group, and then now assistant manager for growth and strategy, which is a larger work stream. And we'll discuss that. I'm sure we'll discuss that a bit later. So a lot of growth and development. You mentioned my pursuit of other courses to help me along this journey, and just being focused on growing and just adopting a growth mindset has helped me so far. So yeah, that's pretty much my journey.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Yes, Jahel.
All right, thank you. So my journey so far has been a pretty streamlined one, I would say. I started off as a software tester for advanced integrated systems. I then moved on to be a business intelligence analyst at the insurance company BCIC. Afterwards, I moved to Blue Dot in my role as a data analyst, a part of the data science team, and I've been at Blue Dot this past year. And it's really just been about me challenging myself, not shying away from the more difficult tasks that has allowed me to add value to the teams that I've been on, and just continuously being innovative in the ways that I approach things and the different things that might come up over the course of a project. And so that has been my journey so far. I've been pretty much resolving a lot of issues and fixing things.
Okay, great. So today we're talking about the KPO segment, right? So I know that your respective companies have departments and teams that offer services within the KPO space. Can you briefly tell us what your company or the particular department you may be in does, as well as the specific services that are offered to clients? Because we're talking about KPO this evening. So, Jahal, you can go first.
Okay, sure. So Blue Dot is a market research company. And so as it relates to KPO, we would do a lot of work for clients in conducting studies for them on their behalf. So whether it's a customer satisfaction study or an internal satisfaction study, mystery shopper, we have different analytics for even observing where people look on a label to understand what is grabbing their attention. And then we also do some things in the public arena as well. You might be familiar with the Blue Dot Nationwide political polls. And so, yes, essentially, people have a problem or a question, and they might not have the data. And we go out, we collect that data for them, and we provide that analysis to give them a full understanding.
Okay, great. So, Shafe, you can go ahead. What kind of services in the KPO space does your department or your company offer?
Okay, so to provide a little background, so KPMG is a global organization with offices in over 143 countries. So KPMG Jamaica is one member firm, and KPMG Jamaica has a delivery center called KPMG GES. And we have one client, a primary client, which is KPMG US. So, serving KPMG US, we have a number of work streams, process areas. KPMG is primarily known for audit, tax, and advisory services.
Right.
But of course, when you have audit, tax, and advisory, you still need people who market. You still need people who, it's a regulated entity. So you still need people who focus on governance and compliance, that sort of a thing. So my work stream is called Growth and Strategy. And it includes a number of processes, as we mentioned before, but I'll focus on a few. So we have brand governance, which focuses on market facing content and marketing initiatives, reviewing those to ensure that they're basically in compliance with the firm's independence guidelines and the brand standards. And then we also have the proposal um, management arm, and that includes a number of sub processes. So we have the writers who write to actually win business for the US firm. We also have people who curate the content. So they're looking through past content to ensure that we have a repository of content that can be reused. We're pretty big on brand consistency. So just ensuring that content is streamlined and that can go to market easily. We have concierges. They offer chat, basically more customer service focused, to people who want to write their proposals. We also have designers, graphic designers, who contribute to the proposal process by designing proposals and other marketing initiatives from that particular group. We also have people who design microsites called UI UX designers. So that's the proposal arm. Then we also have, I'd call them marketing. They provide marketing support, and we call them marketing operations. So they basically ensure that we're keeping track of these marketing initiatives, and they support the US firm in doing so. So ensuring that we're keeping track, and the tools that they use, ensuring that we're providing project management services for those tools as well. So a lot of niche services and a lot of areas to grow and learn.
Okay, so that sounds to me like a bit of a balance for somebody who may have more of an analytical mind and someone who would probably want to more explore the creative side of things. So it seems like there's a space for both in that kind of department.
Yes, I would say so. More, and I wouldn't, for the creative, I take away the creative because it's a lot of guidelines to follow.
Okay.
So if you want to create within guidelines, then sure. But definitely the analytical mind and process focused. Yes.
Okay, got you. Understood. So, because persons are watching and they want to learn a little bit more about what these areas entail, I want you both to tell me what would a typical day in your role look like? What is it that you do day to day? I'm going to start with Jahil for data analytics. What does a data analyst do? What do you do every day, or at least on a typical day from when you get into work in the morning? What is Jahal doing with his work day?
All right. So on a typical work day, my head of research will come to me with a problem. She'll say, "Jahal, we have this study for a particular client, and we have just finished data collection, and now it's time for the analysis." And so, as a data analyst, I would get that data, and I would conduct my necessary data cleaning, any sort of transformation needed on the data, and then make sure that I understand the research objectives well and business objectives, so that I know the questions that should be answered through the analysis of this data and what the client might be expecting. We also delve a bit deeper. We do our different cross tabulations to try and draw any extra insights that might be found in the data. So, the client might have asked a question like, where are my customers coming from? And the answer to that might be they're majorly, yeah, the majority of them are from Kingston. But if I also find that, and you're very popular between the 18 to 24-year-old age groups, then that's something that we also help the client to see, and then they can explore further as to why they think this is happening and how to appeal to that group some more, or how to capture other age groups. So that's just one aspect: getting the problem, understanding it, cleaning the data, and then conducting my first sort of analysis on it. The next step is the data visualization, and this is the part that I guess you could say it's my favorite part. So this involves a lot of design. So I would design the particular deliverable myself, whether that's a dashboard or some other form of deliverable. And so I have to understand different principles of design, how to use negative space, how to use visual hierarchy in order to get that information across. Because simplicity is the name of the game. You want it when someone looks at the dashboard, they see the key things that they want to see at a glance. If they want additional details, it's also there. You make it very simple, very user friendly, so that's something that I have to always keep in mind while I'm working. So we go from the problem all the way to what the client gets in the end. And then there's also some follow up that might have to happen. So a client might say, oh, this thing looks a bit off, or, these are our different departments, and you had one department under another. And so we make those changes. So the support is ongoing as well, but the clients are typically very happy with the results, and yeah, do that gets the job done.
Okay, so I heard you get a little bit technical there. I want to ask you, just throwing this question. Do you actually enjoy working with data? What is your favorite thing about your current role as a data analyst?
Yes, I love learning. I love working with data, and the main reason why is that you just learn so much. In a place like Blue Dot, for example, we do work for, different companies in different industries, whether it's the banking industry, manufacturing, real estate. Different clients from all over, and every project is different in the sense that I'm trying to I have to become a bit of an expert in that field pretty quickly so that I understand what I'm looking at in the data, whether that's a company doing taste testing for a product or another company that just wants to find out what their customers are thinking. So you get to pick up on little things like why your favorite company might have done this, why they changed the flavor of the juice or something like that, because you see where that feedback is coming in, and you
Right.
see how companies respond to their customers or the business environment on a whole. So it's just learning more about the world around me. So yeah, I really like working with data for that.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to go over to Shafe. Tell us what a typical day in your role looks like, because I know that you have sight of several different areas. So, what does a typical day look like for you?
Okay, so um, currently 30 team members. So the first thing I typically do is check in with the team. We use a lot of collaborative tools. Mainly, we use Teams to communicate throughout the day. So typical check-ins in the mornings, after which I would go to what's scheduled. So client calls, I tend to have stakeholder management calls scheduled to one catch up, but then there are also stakeholders who reach out off the bat, with process updates, special requests. So being flexible to accommodate that. Then I'm also looking at reporting, looking at the productivity of the team. So we have special tools that we use to monitor the team's recording of time and how we capture that, how we report that accurately to feed into other reports, staying abreast of the processes. So again, clients may reach out, or there may be something that I'm working on from before, and so I may need to reach out to the team for additional information to feed into reports. So it's a lot of relationship management, people management, updating process documents. But I want to touch. I think your viewers would also be interested in what the team does. So,
Yes,
so the
yes.
day to day of the team, we're looking at, for example, the proposal writers. They have a proposal, they get a proposal from onshore, and so they'll schedule calls with the, we call them clients, but they're engagement teams. So the teams who are working with the external clients to get the business. So they're working with these clients to um, do requirements gathering, find out what it is that's in the request for proposal, the RFPs, ensuring that we understand what the team is trying to position to the client, but also using our knowledge or expertise, the repository that we have that I mentioned earlier, to shape how we align the content. And then when they have these kickoff calls, it's working on a first draft, providing that to the team. They mainly operate through Teams channels with the teams. So it's throughout the day, providing updates, providing a first draft. When the team reviews, providing a second draft. So it's a lot of project management. If something isn't going well, ensuring that they're liaising with the designers to update the proposals as well. So managing that process. When you look at brand governance, it's receiving submissions from the marketing groups, relevant marketing groups, uh, for initiatives that they want to partake in or content that they want to have reviewed. And, we go through that process of looking at the third parties, looking at the relationships that we have with these third parties. Are there independence conflicts there? Are they a client? If they're a client, there are certain guardrails that we have to adhere to before we can proceed with a marketing initiative. And so, we're
Right.
um, communicating with the requesters to try to have them negotiate with the third parties to see, is there something that we can do here? Is there something that we can work out here? And of course, we provide the guidance as to what we would recommend that they do with the third parties, or discuss with the third parties, to see if we can find a common ground to make it work, to ensure that we're in adherence to our policies, but at the same time that we're participating and that we're winning business, and that we are basically marketing our brand. Brand management, pretty similar. So reviewing, I don't think I mentioned brand management earlier, actually. So brand management, reviewing how our logo is used on materials. Is it in alignment with the brand guidelines as well? Is it positioned the right way? Is it in line with the KPMG feel or style? The tone of voice of content, is this in alignment with our visual identity or identity as a firm? So a lot of these things, and I mentioned a collaborative environment. We're pretty big on that. Throughout the day, we have to be responsive, just being responsive to clients, being responsive to teams. So that's pretty much.
Okay. So I'm going to throw out the same question to you. Do you enjoy what you do? Would you rather be doing something else, or is this where you want to be?
So I do enjoy, especially the the relationships that we've built as a team. Team engagement is something that's pretty big for us, and the environment that KPMG brings facilitates that. KPMG is pretty big on collaboration, working with the teams, and ensuring that we are happy at work as best as we can be. And so we are constantly collaborating, and I enjoy collaborating with the teams. I also enjoy reviewing content. So even though I do mostly people management, client management right now, I also review content to support the brand governance team from when I
Okay.
started, and I enjoy that because I'm compliance focused. So I thoroughly enjoy that as well. So yeah.
Okay, great. So both of you enjoy what you do. That's good. Not everybody can say that. And because we want other persons to be able to enjoy what they do as well, what advice now would you give to persons who are interested in working in one of these areas in the KPO segment? So whether it be data analytics, whether it be brand management and corporate governance and market research, what advice would you give to persons who may be interested in now starting a career in one of these areas? And how can they then prepare for a role like yours or a similar role in your company? I'm going to start with Jahail.
Right. So advice I would give is to remember, but for data analytics at least, is to remember that you are a communicator. You're breaking down all these figures and numbers into something that's meaningful for the client, because you might speak one technical language and the client, they just want to know what's the next step for their business. So keep that in mind in your analysis, keep that in mind in your presentation of the data, that you're just trying to get information across in the simplest and clearest manner that you can. And also to, in terms of advice, you can just be able to work with the team pretty well. That's a very clear one, because we have our research team as well, and they rely on me, I rely on them as to give me the data to break down any concept that I might not understand about the project or so. And but yes, it's a pretty straightforward field, I would say. There are a lot of resources online for anyone looking to get into the data analytics. It's something that you can learn on your own time, and yeah, just keep an open mind and keep learning, and that would be my advice.
Okay. Thanks for that, Jahail. Shafe, over to you.
Um, I would say look out for the competencies of the role. So when you're applying, zone in on those so that you can ensure that you are so in searching. Before you apply, look out for those competencies so that you can equip yourself. So whether it is watching videos or doing courses based on the competencies and skill sets that are shared, that is one thing that I think would set you up for success. Um, Look out for opportunities to utilize these competencies as well, so you can get some experience. Um, it could be in your present job. When you look at those competencies, for example, I think of one, data gathering and analysis. If you're in a role right now, or if you're at school, how can I apply data gathering and analysis where I am, so that when I'm applying for this role, I can position myself in a way that suggests that I have some experience in this area and that I have interest and I'm competent in this area. Um, I would also say reach out to people to inquire about the role. People are using LinkedIn. Utilize it as best as you can to find out what I see the job description, but what else is there for me to know, so that you can really determine if this is the right fit for you, and
Yeah.
so that you can make an informed decision. And also, finally, I mentioned this before, adopt a growth mindset. Whatever you need to do to start adopting a growth mindset from early before you come, that would be key.
Okay. Very valid points. Before we continue, I just want to remind our viewers that we will be having a Q&A section. So please remember to write your questions in the chat and we will address them in just a bit. So, we spoke about what we can do to prepare for such a role. I just want to zero in on specific skills now. What are some top skills that you would advise persons to work on to be able to succeed in these areas? So, what are specific skills? And then you can just add as well, based on your own experience, what are some of the qualifications that's needed for persons to get where you are now? I will go back to Jahail to start.
All right. So skills that help would be to be able to show some experience of analytic work before, and you don't have to think it's like a huge project from the get-go, but how did you take some large unorganized group of data and turn it into meaningful information for someone else? Because at the root of it, that's what this job is. And so if in and I'll give an example. When I was doing software testing, that's when I first started data analysis, because the platform I was testing was an e-commerce site, right? So it was online shopping. And in my role, even though I was a software tester, I then took it upon myself to look through the orders, right, and be able to create a report for our stakeholders that they value about a particular subset of our customers. And so that's just one of the ways that I was able to then, realize, okay, if I had known about this particular programming tool or this particular visualization tool, that task might have been easier. And then you go and learn those additional tools as best you can. So for specific skills, it would help if you have some programming knowledge. There's ways to do it. Not that you have to be like an expert in programming for sure. Design is another one, because you would then be designing the output that your clients get, and also just being a good writer, being a good communicator, because as I said, that's what the job is: communicating those insights,
Right.
communicating the facts to the clients. Yeah.
In terms of educational qualifications, what would you say?
Educational. So I've seen my peers in the space get into various analyst roles from using a computer science background, using a mathematics background, economics background. So any sort of degree or course of study that would have exposed you to basic statistical concepts, and knowing how to do various tasks in statistics, such as your modeling, maybe a hypothesis testing, different, just a good understanding of the numbers that you might encounter and how to make sense out of data.
Okay, okay. So, just a reminder to our viewers and to those who may have joined us a little late. Today, we are talking about the KPO segment, knowledge process outsourcing, and that, of course, includes roles that have more specialized analytical knowledge based skills. So, I'm going to go on over to Shafe. Same question for you. What are some top skills that you would advise persons to work on to be able to find success in your role or in your department?
Okay. So I'll touch on the skills, but I'll also touch on the competencies because those are primarily on our job descriptions too. So skills include proposal or business writing, project management, email management, quality assurance review, process documentation, branding review, data monitoring or validation, business research for the designers, UX designers, UX design, for the graphic designers, graphic design. But to speak a bit more on our competencies, we have general business competencies that we want people to focus on. So that includes communication. You have to be able to communicate effectively with clients, especially working with the US firm, different culture. Being mindful of that, we have collaboration and teamwork. Mentioned the environment being very team centric, collaborative, stakeholder management, managing the client relationships as well. We also, when you look at the processes, you get specific. You want to look at, I mentioned data gathering and analysis as one. We also have continuous improvement. We have things like problem solving, of course. Project management was mentioned before. Um, administrative services to an extent as well. And I will say, when you focus on skill sets, I mentioned looking at courses that would align with the competencies, and I'll share an example. When I started, I did not have a compliance background. So I started with brand governance. So I went ahead, I did an auditor independence course. I also did a certification in compliance. I also did another course, supervisory management, because I expected that my team would expand. So I went ahead and I did the GSS. Now, as I am managing additional teams that I want to continue to improve processes, I focused on process improvement. So these are some of the skills. Process improvement is very, 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 very key for all our processes across JES. Always looking for new ways to. You mentioned being creative earlier, so I'll take that back and say yes, we do have to be creative in the processes, making the processes better, contributing to the improvement of that. So those are
Okay.
some of the skill sets.
Okay, great. So I think you started to touch a little bit on what I wanted to ask next, and it's kind of along the same line because I wanted you to share some advice and tips for success for your respective fields. So if now that you are in the for somebody who has now moved into this particular position, so you've now gotten the job, what can you do to ensure success and growth? And I said that you started to touch on it, I think, with the fact that you did certifications, you did further training and learning. What else would you say, or what other advice and tips would you give somebody who is now looking to move forward and upwards?
Okay. I'd say being curious about the big picture is one. And when I say big picture, so the client gives you a task. um, you have meetings, you hear the scope of the task, you hear the scope surrounding the task. Be curious about what is this task leading to, what is it connected to, what is the overall picture, because that will help to inform how you respond, how you complete the project. When you complete the project, you could even volunteer to do other things within the project. That helps the client to see that you are committed to what they have, what their assignment, their project, that you're committed to growth and that you're committed to the business. So being curious and asking questions, I would say. Flexibility uh, in this kind of environment is a very fast paced
Yeah.
environment, and so it requires a level of flexibility. And there is flexibility in terms of work hours, but I'm not speaking about flexibility in that regard. I'm speaking about flexibility in the sense that you may be working on something right now. Flexibility, agility. You may be working on something right now and someone asks you to support this initiative. How do you respond to that? Managing how you manage expectations. So manage expectations appropriately. How do you communicate that you are able to or not able to, based on what you're currently working on. um, I would also say how you are seen as a leader, being mindful of how you interact with your peers. So you want to also be seen as a leader in your process. You want to drive inclusivity. You want to be seen as a subject matter expert. So even when if you're looking for somebody who is fit to grow in a space, we're looking at that person holistically. Your attitude to work, your attitude to people, how collaborative you are, how engaging you are. And we're not expecting people to come and transform and be a different person, but we're expecting you to be interested in what we have going on here. And I'd also say just be willing to just go that extra step. Do more than what is required of you. Do more than the what is stated in your job description. Do more, be curious, ask more.
Okay. I think that's good advice. I think some persons sometimes they do the bare minimum and then they expect to see growth, but it really doesn't work that way. You have to put in the work to be able to see the results. So, totally agree with you. I'm going to go over to you, Jahal. Same question. What advice and tips for success do you have in your field for somebody who has now made the transition into that role and is now looking to move up the ranks?
Sure. So the first thing I'll echo that point of just staying curious. You have to be curious and explore things further, because a research objective might be specific to one way, but as you're in the data, as you're looking around, you might come across something that might be interesting, or you think it might lead somewhere, something unexpected, and you just have to be curious enough to explore that a bit more, to follow it up and see, and that can be an additional insight that the client wasn't even expecting. So that's one for sure. Be innovative, I would say, is definitely a big one, because when you come into a company, you, for example, when I came to do that, I quickly saw that some things that I could change to improve efficiency, using my background being having experience in programming. So when I got some huge data sets and I realized I was doing the same steps to clean and prepare them, I would write a little program that I could upload the data set into, and then that step would be taken care of for me. And that alone, saves a lot of time in my tasks for the company. And so just using whatever skill that you have, otherwise, maybe outside of your job description, to then boost your efficiency while you're there. Um, and then finally, another skill that I would say to acquire is less of a skill, but more of some certifications that might help you. There are the Microsoft Power BI certifications if you're doing data analysis, as well as Tableau. Those are two pieces of software that are commonly used in the field, but then also understanding different programming languages, your R, your Python, SQL, so you can access this data for yourself and maybe get a bit more technical, because it won't be every time that the data is coming to you in just a nice, clean format. I wish that was the case, but that hardly ever happens. So you have to have the know-how to get your hands a bit dirty and get something in a format that works for you, that makes your job easier. And so when you have that basic problem solving skill, and you're curious and you can innovate, then I think you go pretty far in this field.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Thanks to both of you for the insights shared here today. We're going to go over now into our Q&A segment. So we'll take any questions from our viewers. Let's see if we have any questions. All right. Fiona Walford. So I'm a social work major. What is there in the GSS for me? Okay. So social work would not, you would not find roles in social work in the GSS. However, I would say that there are transferable skills that you could probably use to then transition into the GSS. So I can imagine being in social work, you would have to be a people person, you'd have to have great communication skills, and there are many roles, some of which I think both of you touched on in the KPO space, that you would need to have those skills. And then, of course, you would need to do some further maybe short courses and certifications to be able then to transition into a role, whether it's in the KPO segment or within another segment. It could be in BPO, it could be in digital media. There's also the IT outsourcing segment of the GSS. What I would say as well, Fiona, is that we have a tool that could help you. I'm going to touch on that in just a bit after the Q&A segment, so stay tuned. We have a tool that can help you determine some of the possible career paths that you can embark on based on your personality. So stay tuned to hear a little bit more about that. All right, did we have any more questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions at the moment. Okay, Kamar Henry is CCNA certified. Any advice? I don't know if any of our guests have any advice for Kamar on that. If not, all
Mm,
right. But stay tuned, Kamar. I'm going to share how you can get some one-on-one guidance as well. Let's see if we have any more questions.
yeah, I was going to ask for Kemar. A quick Google search says Cisco Certified Network Associates. I'm not sure if that's um, IT related,
It
um,
seems to be.
but if it is, then you mentioned transferable skills.
Mhm.
So that's also something to consider.
Right. So Kemar as well. Next month we're going to be having an IT focus session on the Talent Hub. So you can make sure to stay tuned to our page then. We'll be having some IT professionals who'd be able to shed some light. And in the meantime, stay tuned. I'm going to share some tools that can help you as well. All right. So I think we have one more question. All right, there's a question about job roles, about remote jobs. So yes, we have on the GSS Talent Hub, we do have a job board. We do not handle the recruitment process directly. However, we do feature jobs from different companies in the industry. And yes, there are remote jobs available. So what I'm going to ask you to do, Terrell, is to go onto the GSS Talent Hub page, go to the jobs tab, and you'll be able to view a list of current vacancies which does include remote jobs from time to time. So, if there are no more questions, and I think we took all the questions we have this evening, just want to thank my guest again. As you have heard from this discussion and from our previous sessions, there are so many career paths and opportunities available in the GSS, and specifically as we discuss now in the KPO segment. If you are someone who is interested in the more technical and analytical areas, so you can go into marketing, brand governance, market research, or proposal writing like those on Shafe's team. Or you may want to go into more analytical and data based roles like Jahail. So you have heard from our guest today just what this entails, and you may decide that this could be the career path for you. If you're interested in accounting or auditing roles as well, which also falls under the KPO segment, be sure to check out our first and second fireside chat sessions on the Talent Hub, Facebook, or YouTube. In our first episode, we had some insights from an employee in the auditing field, and in our last session for from someone from the accounting field. So I encourage you to watch to learn more about those experiences. And of course, these are just a few examples of roles in the KPO segment. And I will take the opportunity now to remind our viewers who may already know and also to inform those who may not be aware that the GSS project is here to help you on your professional journey. We do have the GSS Career Pathway Framework. We refer to it as the CPF. And this platform can help you learn more about roles in the industry and help you plan your career, including, yes, the KPO segment. So our CPF site is an interactive tool. It uses career maps to show what a career path looks like, a typical career, and we have over 160 examples of possible job roles over four career pathways, which of course include BPO, KPO, ITO, and digital media. So on the CPF, you can actually view detailed job descriptions, salary scales for a range of job roles in the industry. You can see critical work functions, skills, competencies required for each role, as well as training options. It also allows you to take a self-assessment test using our RISEC model to help you determine which career path best suits you. So for those who may be looking to transition into the sector, you're not sure, like how we had the question about social work, having that background, you can actually go onto this tool, take the Rise Excel assessment test, and get some suggestions about the fields that you could go into based on your personality. And we also have career advisors. We have a career advisory portal on the CPF, so you can get one-on-one guidance. So whatever it is that you would like to discuss, whether it is like with Kamara about advice about being CCNA certified, whatever it is, you can speak to a career advisor to help you on your journey and to get the help that you need. And all of this is available to you for free. There is no cost. You can sign up on the CPF for free at mygscareerpathway.gov.jm. And then, of course, once you are clear about your career path, you can then head over to the GSS Talent Hub to view our job board with current industry vacancies. You can explore industry recommended short courses to help you stand out as a candidate, in addition to our career resources on the Talent Hub. So we have videos, blogs, infographics with tips for crafting out resume, is in your interview, writing your cover letter, getting a promotion, tips for communicating effectively in the workplace, and much, much more. So we have weekly content designed to help you put your best foot forward. So you can follow us on LinkedIn, just search for the GSS Talent Hub. So now, as we wrap up, I just want to emphasize that the GSS and outsourcing sector is much more than call centers or contact centers. There are a multitude of roles that you can enjoy, including those we discussed today within the KPO segment. And of course, there are opportunities for growth. And I must say, you may come in at the entry level, but you do not have to stay there. With the experience and training, you can grow in the industry and advance to more technical roles, more managerial roles, depending on what your interest is. And there are a lot of stories of persons who have grown. You can check out our My GSS story feature on our social media pages to see some of these real stories. So as we close, I'm going to just ask Shafe and Jahil to just add their final thoughts. What is it that you'd want to leave with our viewers as we prepare to go? I'll start with you, Shafe.
Okay. I'll say you get what you put in. As with anything else, if there is, as you mentioned, opportunity to grow and learn, to develop, um, having that growth mindset, being committed to growing is something that will help propel your career and just develop you holistically as a human being.
All right. Thanks for that, Shafe. Jahil?
My advice, my final thoughts would be to just stay curious and to be a quick learner. Your value just goes up so much higher when you solve the difficult problems that no one else wants to solve, whether that's in your organization or just generally. So yeah, just be a helpful resource, and yeah, you'll find that your stock grows a lot within the company.
Okay, thanks for that, Jahal. Thank you both for joining us for this session. To our viewers, please tell us what you want us to discuss in future live sessions on the Talent Hub. You can share your feedback and recommendations to us by emailing us at communications_gss@jamprocorp.com, or you can just send us a message on any of our social media platforms. Also, follow us on the GSS Talent Hub on LinkedIn for our industry job board, career resources, to help prepare you to grow in your careers. And we have recommended short courses as well for free. Sign up on the GSS Career Pathway Framework at myGSScareerpathway.gov.jm to learn about the career pathways in the GSS. Complete a free RISEX self-assessment test to help you figure out the best career fit based on your personality. And as I mentioned, you can speak to a career advisor for free one-on-one guidance. Also follow us on social media. Global Services Sector Jamaica on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, at GSS Jamaica and on Instagram, and at GSS Jamaica 1 on Twitter. And of course, share the link to this session with your family and friends, and do let us know your thoughts. That's it for this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. A big thank you again to our guests, Shafe Bloomfield from KPMG Jess and Jahal Smith from Blue Dot Insights. Stay tuned to the GSS Talent Hub and our social media pages for updates on our next live session. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time.